Good morning. In 1957, I was only 5 years old, and my Uncle David Bono was 11 years old, and we both had a grand time playing on the sand and in the water and in the beach house on 3266 Bayside Walk. One time, there were a few men inside the beach house, and one man gave me some candy. And when I was older and watching Mafia motion pictures, it was just like that, because they were very nice to me. My step-grandfather, Victor Francis, took me over to the roller coaster across the street from his beach house. And he was so nice to me. And we had such a great time, too. Mirabile had this secretive arrangement with numerous bars, nightclubs, and cafés throughout downtown San Diego, and it is documented that Victor Francis and Tony Mirabile had various business arrangements together within the early 1950s. Victor Charles was only 11 years old in 1950 when his father was associating with men like Tony Mirabile. I can only guess Victor Charles had met these men on occasion, especially now when they were living at 3266 Bayside Walk on Mission Bay. My father, Sonny, never shared with me about how his life was when growing up with Victor Francis and his mother, Myrtle Belle. He once said to me, though, that one of the main reasons he went to fight in World War II was for the fact he couldn't stand living with them any longer. My father wasn't one to go into many details, but he only spoke in generalities instead. I wish he had painted a more accurate image of how their daily lives were like. Knowing my Uncle Victor Charles's brilliant mind makes me believe when he was only 11 years old, he most likely caught every single word, joke, and facial expressions coming from the Mafia men who wore suits and hats standing in his father's house. Actress Bette Davis was steamrolling in 1951 with two new motion pictures, Payment on Demand, starring Barry Sullivan and filmed by RKO Radio's Pictures. It was released on February 3rd, 1951. Her second film was Another Man's Poison, starring Gary Morrell and Emlyn Williams, and filmed by Angel Productions. It was released on November 20, 1951. Actress Joan Crawford was in Goodbye, My Fancy, starring Robert Young, Frank Lovejoy, and filmed by Warner Brothers, and it was released on May 30th, 1951. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were taking over America with numerous motion pictures, and on May 13, 1951, they were in That's My Boy, starring Ruth Hussey, Eddie Mayhoff, and was filmed by Paramount Pictures. During 1951, 11 years old Victor Charles hadn't a clue that he would be acting side by side with Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Frank Sinatra, and Dean Martin in the early 1960s. These four great celebrities of the silver screen, radio, and stage helped to enhance Victor Charles's image substantially when being a newcomer in Hollywood. Had he not been surrounded by Davis, Crawford, Sinatra, and Dean, Victor Charles's career might have taken a different course altogether. If an actor is to succeed, they must be associated with greatness, and that is the golden key that opens up all the doors. Director Craig Noll of the Old Globe Theater was greatly supporting the brand new San Diego Junior Theater in 1951, who was staging their children productions at 3 locations, being the Puppet Theater, Recital Hall, and Roosevelt Junior High School. Within 2 years or so, Victor Charles would be performing on one of these stages. With 1952 ushering in, my soon-to-be mother Hilda was pregnant with me. Soon thereafter, my father Sonny re-enlisted into the United States Navy at 24 years old and was transferred into the construction U.S. Seabees, and he entered into the Korean War. He was sent to the Philippine Islands to build airfields in the jungles at Cuba Point. During that time, he saw 5 American Seabees being shot and killed by Philippine communist guerrillas. On September 24, 1952, at 12:35 p.m., my father Sonny was 24 years old and my mother Hilda 21 years old, and they saw their newborn son in Mercy Hospital in San Diego, California. They named me Wayne Allen Erica. Now that I've come into this story, I will try my very best to describe all of what my young eyes and ears had heard and saw while growing up in the Buono family, and when they lived at 3266 Bayside Walk near South Mission Beach, and across the way at Belmont Park on its ocean boardwalk in San Diego, California. The house I lived in after being born was at 426 Manor Drive in El Cajon, California. It was approximately 25 miles east of where my step-grandfather Victor Francis's home was, near South Mission Beach. Victor Francis was still the owner of the insurance and bail bonds at 504 West Market Street in downtown San Diego in 1952. He had an ongoing association with Tony Mirabile and had other business deals with him during that time period. It is a reality that my step-grandfather, Victor Francis, was rubbing shoulders with Mafia figures during that time, and I do believe other family members like my Granny Grunts, Aunt Sylvia Brittenbach, Aunt Mary Jane Morris, Grandma Mert, my father Sonny, and my mother Hilda knew perfectly well what was going on within the Buono house in 1952. As I grew up, I never heard any words about the Mafia from any of my adult members of my family. It was a well-kept secret behind closed doors from me. There was a newspaper clipping that was a stunning surprise to the Buono family on August 7, 1955, stating that former San Diego Deputy District Attorney Clifford L. Duke, Louis Ballard, George Todd, and Victor Francis Buono were having a meeting in 1953 in his insurance and bail bonds business at 504 West Market Street, discussing plans for exotic bird smuggling.